All right. I'm very happy to announce that this is the first ever Friarside Chat episode of the postseason. As
Playoffs.
I know, can you believe that we're here?
No. And yes. And this is awesome. And oh my God, we're freaking here.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And for those of you who haven't seen the show, thank you for being here. We're a Padres podcast. I'm Vince. This is Brandon, a couple washed up college baseball players who all we do is talk Padres baseball now. And if you didn't catch the games earlier today, the Padres are going to be taking on the Atlanta Braves. Pretty crazy game between them and the Mets earlier. It almost felt like the postseason started with that one. Did you get a chance to check that game out?
I was working. But that
Yeah,
being
same.
said, watching just even the box score, the updates, yeah, it was the only game being played. It felt like
hmm
postseason baseball. The emotions were obviously there. You have two teams vying for a spot. If they choke, they're gone.
hmm
And if they split, they're both in. It was a very unique situation. I'm sure Arizona fans
That's what I was
are
gonna say.
hating it.
And they split, and the Diamondbacks are out. And what was kind of dumb, like I guess like the one dumb part was that like that intensity on that second game after the Mets had already clinched. It's like, come on, they're not trying to get anyone hurt. Not that it's a gimme, because no games are a gimme, but they weren't going all out. So I'm sure, right, to your point, if you're a Diamondbacks fan at that point, you're pretty upset.
You can't you can't blame them. I mean, dude, do I want to? If we were in that position, am I starting Manny Machado back to back? Am I having our number one hitting catcher in back to back? No. Is Tatis maybe getting some time? Is Arias, getting the rest of the day off? Yeah, probably. The only real losers are the Arizona Diamondbacks fans that are watching them just go.
Yeah.
It's like a fantasy football time when
Yeah.
when your running back you only needs 10 more yards to rush and it's winding down and they're like, let's keep him on the bench because we don't want him to get injured. You're sitting there going, no, but it
You
makes sense.
sounds like personal experience for you on that one.
Hey, I got saved today. Pollard had a last play of the game
Uh,
touchdown that won us the game, so
yeah.
all good
Oh, there you
here.
go. That'll work. That'll work. Um, if you're viewing on YouTube, you can probably see behind me. I tend to always put someone relevant behind my background here. And this time, Michael King announced for the game one starter of the wild card round against the Braves. Are you surprised? Does it feel about right? What do you think?
All hail the king. I was shocked. I was shocked because it seemed like coming into this, even he was kind of preparing to be in the pen for these three games. You have your horses that have been here
hmm
for a long time, more established aces, if you will, as far as just having more than a year of experience as being a guy.
Yeah.
Cease has been an ace for a long time. Yu Darvish, same. Joe Musgrove, this is his team. He's the captain.
hmm
So it leaves King in a predicament of, well, where does that leave me? I don't think he
Yeah.
saw it as game one starter, and I didn't see that. But I don't hate it. I love watching King pitch. I think he's dominant. I think you know, when he's on, he's on. He's going to get Cy Young votes this year. This is a
Yeah.
very good pitcher who has been arguably one of the most consistent on our team. He's the only one that's been consistent and pitched the whole year, and I'm excited for it. I'm interested to see how they deploy Yu Darvish because he
Right.
has now taken the role that we thought King was going to have.
hmm Exactly, exactly. And yeah, I was curious. I should have looked it up, of course, before this, but I didn't. I was curious if it was his if King's first postseason experience, because he had played on the Yankees for a few years
He
as a
came out of the pen, I
reliever.
think.
Yeah, maybe one of those years potentially. But I don't know. That would have been interesting. But definitely, yeah, regardless of if he played or not, it's definitely his first ever start, obviously, now that he's a starter. But and then I did look up his last five games. I actually looked up the last five games for all of the Padres starters here, and I mean, they've just all been hot. So it's
They've
kind of
been
one of those
great.
things where it's like, to your point, right? You could go with any one of those guys, King, Musgrove, Cease, or Darvish, and you're like in a good spot, which puts the Padres in a very good spot. But yeah, like Cease, 1.98 ERA, 27 Ks, 27 innings over his last five starts. Musgrove, 38 Ks over his last 28 innings. That's and a 2.5 ERA. Like they're all
Yeah.
just kind of
Well,
nailing
here's
it.
here's
Cease
something
sub
that they're
one
not
whip
going to
over
talk
his
about.
last five. They're just sorry, go ahead.
No, listen to this though. This is the part that I think a lot of people will not get. King wanted this game. He wanted to start this series. Maybe not this game, maybe not game one, but he really wanted to start. He made that not necessarily clear and blatant, but when asked the question, you could just tell he really wanted to do it. He's wanted to be a starter the whole time.
Yeah.
It's playoff atmosphere. He's never gotten to start a game in the playoffs, and he really wanted it. Now that's a move that Schilt has just made that gives a vote of confidence in him.
Yeah.
It also is a huge play by you, Darvish, being the most senior veteran on the staff,
Hmm.
taking the bullpen role. That has to win some kudos in the clubhouse when you got a guy who's willing to not necessarily step down, but play a different role
Yeah.
when he definitely does not have to. So kudos to Schilt for
Hmm.
winning more brownie points for King and making him even more inspired. Because you can't tell me this first playoff game, the juices aren't going to be flowing for King and that he's
Hmm.
not going to go out and give it his all. He always
Yeah.
would, but it's
Amped
just
up.
different. And you having that safety blanket, it's going to be really interesting to see. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm excited.
Yeah. And like you said, yeah, safety blanket too, right? Like if you do get kind of a jittery start, let's say, from any of one of these guys, just knowing that you could like, oh, well, who's next guy up? It's like, oh, how about you, Darvish?
Yeah,
Like, okay. Yeah, that doesn't suck. And Perez even like, and we don't even know. I don't know if they have like locked in playoff rosters, but we just saw like Randy Vasquez just pitched
shoved.
excellent, and Waldron not as much, but we obviously know what his ceiling. Well, we don't know his ceiling, but we've seen throughout the season that this dude possibly
Serviceable.
has a high ceiling too. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of what those final roster constructions look like, just for
Last
more
point.
depth in the pitching stat. So really
Last
interesting.
point on this like little rotation we got going.
Yeah.
Not to look too far ahead because I'm not a believer in that, but just
Hmm.
speaking it out as it plays. You've got King going, or my bad, King, then Musgrove, then Cease. Yes,
Yeah. Correct.
that lines
If
you up
if needed.
if needed. And if you win the first two, you
Yeah.
just won with your arguably 3-4.
Yeah.
Tell me you have Cease, then you, and then back to King. You've got your 1, 2, 3 essentially in a way.
Yeah.
Um, it lines up well. So like I hope they just win in two.
Yep.
I'm excited.
Yeah, and I don't think the Braves have announced who they're starting yet. Speculation was Chris Sale, but then there's also some
Heck doesn't.
reports that he's back, and there's some other report that he was maybe battling some other injuries. So that one seems like very questionable. Other than that, they've got who else is in their rotation? I got it up right here.
Not
Charlie
surprising.
Morton, Max Fried, Ronaldo Lopez, who pitched recently too, and he actually pitched today for an inning, and Schwellenbach, who shoved today. So actually, that's a pretty good rotation as well. Um, I don't
It's
know.
also a rotation that's been hot. Let's not I wouldn't call that a great rotation. They've been pitching well as of late, the second half,
Mhm.
but there's holes in there. It's not a
Yeah,
given.
sure. I'll give the advantage to the Padres on the starting for
Hmm.
sure, but I'm just saying there's still some quality guys in there.
For sure.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see if it's Sale. If not, Morton or Freed is almost undoubtedly one of those two. Um, that actually, I guess, kind of worked into a little segment. I know how much you love games, and sometimes we'll do that on this show. And I figured, hey, we've reached October.
I
It's
love
freaking
games.
fun. It's fun time. Let's do a little game. And it actually, yeah, similar to what we just did with the pitching rotation. Let's do a little who's got the advantage, a little depth chart
Who you got?
showdown.
Who you
Yeah,
got?
we played that before. It's a little bit different, but same idea. Who you got? Padres versus Braves. I'm going depth. We're doing catcher, infield, outfield, back end of the bullpen, and DH are going to be the five categories. I'm
Let's
going to give
pretend I'm
you the
not a Padre.
players. Exactly.
And
That's what I was about to say. I was like, take your Padre. Wait, is that a Padre hat? It just says SD on it.
San Diego Bearnies.
All right. That's not a Padre hat. But if you were, take off your hypothetical Padre hat. You are just a baseball fan.
Go. I'm ready.
All right. Here we go. Who's got the advantage? Who you got?
Who's got?
Catchers, Padres, Higashioka and Elias Diaz versus the Braves with Travis Darno and Sean Murphy. Who you
It's the
got?
Padres this year, and I say this year because historically you take Murphy and Darno easily. I mean their careers are much better than what we have on paper, but this year I think the Padres edge
Yeah.
them out in home runs per the position.
Mhm.
They also have the clutch gene. I don't follow the Braves as much, but I
Yeah.
haven't been seeing highlights on social of their catchers just driving them in the way that ours have. I think we've done a decent job of limiting the run game, and it got stronger with Diaz as well behind there. And Higashioka, it's a breakout year for him as far as production. So
Mhm.
Padres on that one.
Wow, Padres. Okay, that one actually surprised me because that was one of the ones when I went down the list. I was like, I think I'm giving the edge to the Braves,
There you go.
but that's just me. All right, infield. Padres. We got Luis Arraez at first base, Jake Cronenworth at second, Bogarts at short. Oh, that's right. Little side note: Hassan came out for the postseason, torn labrum.
That's all that.
That's all we need to talk about, I guess. And then third base, Manny Machado, pretty solid. Braves, first base Matt Olson, second base Ozzy Albies, shortstop Orlando Arcia, and third base Gio Urshela. Who you got?
It's a tough one, man. Uh, wow, that one's harder than I thought it would be
Yeah, that is tough, huh? I would
because
say
I think
it,
our left
if
side
the
of the infield.
sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You throw in your input. Sway me.
I was gonna say if Austin Riley was still healthy,
Exactly. Yep.
advantage
I
Braves.
agree.
However, he's
Agree.
not. And that Machado Urshela, I feel like is a pretty wide gap, whereas all the other ones are somewhat comparable. And Matt Olson's having an off year for, well, it's funny actually. Everyone wasn't saying he's having an off year, but if you kind of like took his Matt Olson name away and looked at his stats, you're like, that's a good year from a
Good
first
year.
baseman. You know what I mean? It's just we're just used to trying to get, Olson into the 50 home run mark and everything. Um,
Let's give it to the Braves because Albies
yeah.
also have a
Mm.
great bat, a really great bat that shows up in big moments.
Oh,
And
like
it's
today.
only because I feel like I need to give him some love. We'll pretend
Yeah.
Riley's here. Yeah. A healthy
Okay.
Braves
Okay.
and
Okay.
advantage infield.
Interesting. That's funny. So far, we're like opposite because I got advantage Padres still. But anyways, okay, cool. And then next, who you got? Outfield edition. We got Padres, Profar, Merrill Tatis, Braves. I just went off their depth chart. I know they've been using a lot of different lineups out there, but Kelnick, Harris, and Soler.
Not even a question.
Yeah, yeah, it's
It
Padres.
it doesn't even have to be a Padres fan here. You've got the rookie of the year, the best year Profar's ever put together in his decade of work, and then you've got Fernando Tatis, who's a superstar
Yep,
playing great.
yep. And of course, Acuna is out, so that kind of simplifies that too. All
Even
right.
with Acuna.
Yeah, really? Okay, yeah, even Michael Harris, Ronald Acuna, Jared Kelnick, or
Look
whoever. You just pro farm
look at the
Merrill
Padres across the
Tatis.
board. Profar, Merrill, and Tatis, all hovering around 300.
Yeah,
All have
yeah.
had their moments of carrying the team.
Hmm.
All have played a great defense. Gold glove quality out of Merrill, platinum glove in right out of Tatis, and Profar's defense is often understated. He throws people out. He's got a strong and accurate arm, and he has made some clutch diving plays. Whereas if you're an outfielder, like I played outfield in college, there are do or die plays, and there are certain outfielders who, when the moment gets big, pull
Yeah,
up and keep it and play it safe, which no one will fault you for. But there are special guys that when that moment comes, trust to lay out, and he's one of those guys. Doesn't get talked about enough.
very good. Make a strong case, my friend. Padres with the advantage. Yeah, bullpen's a little tricky because I know we don't know like the
Tucker,
entirety. We don't know the entirety of our bullpen. I don't expect you to know the entirety of the Braves bullpen. But if we can look at kind of, the setup closer type guys, I mean, Padres, Scott, Adams, Suarez, come on.
Dre's. Well, no,
And
you know what it
then
is? It really isn't even those three that does it for me.
it's
It's
the depth
your
probably.
Jacobs.
Hmm.
Amazing. Morejon,
Hmm. Estrada.
Estrada. I mean, there's those guys could easily step into a an average team and be the 1, 2, 3 on the back end, the seven, eight,
No,
nine,
no,
and that's our throw them in when you need them type of guys. And they've played a
yeah,
huge role. They are not irrelevant. They've been fantastic.
yeah. Okay. And then last but not least, designated hitter. Now the Padres have been platooning Solano and
They
Peralta,
got
probably Solano, but
Ozuna.
Marcelo Ozuna,
Ozuna.
arguably the
He's
best
great.
hitter, one of probably like what top three hitters in the National League this year. That is
He's been
advantage to the
great. He's scary.
Braves. And if I'm doing my math right, then you have given the advantage out of these five
You didn't start
categories,
pitching, did you?
three to the Padres, two to the Braves.
Did you not do starting pitching?
Well, I didn't include that in this game because we already talked about it, and
Padres.
I needed an odd number anyway. But yeah, if you throw that on too, advantage Padres. So according to our little who you got, Padres slide advantage, and
Can
that
you
was
believe
with
it?
trying not to be.
On a Padres podcast, the Padres are going to edge them out.
I
Oh
feel
my god!
I feel like we'd both be pretty fair though. Like if we were,
Yes,
going up, like if the Padres were going up against a healthy Dodger team, Dodgers have the advantage.
sure.
You could probably say that about any team that Dodgers are up against if they're healthy, like, and we would acknowledge that. In fact, if the Padres, or I should say probably when the Padres, knock on wood, continue down the playoff paths, if they shall do so, we should just do this again against all the opponents and we'll see how it turns out. And it might very well be that advantage could be opponent.
Here's what would have been even more fun was beginning of the year on paper who you got. Because I'll tell you what, Acuna, Merrill, nope. Profar and whoever their left fielder is,
Yeah,
nope. Like these
right.
are all different answers. This
Hmm.
team has overperformed in a way that I have not seen a Padres team do that before. I mean, it is so exciting. These guys care about one another. That's been the press tour focal point is family. They feel like
Yeah.
family, but as a fan who watches them every game, or as much as I can, as much as we can, you and I talk about just how much it seems they are enjoying the game and enjoy it for each other. And as two guys who've been in a clubhouse, I've been in a clubhouse where the guy on the bench is hoping the guy out there fails so he finally gets his shot. That's not what's happening with these pods, and it's special
Mhm.
because it's their careers, it's their livelihoods. To be able to put that aside and just rally for the greater good of the team, there's a lot there that people don't really understand. It's very special. They know it. And a lot of credit goes to Schilt, the coaching staff, and the players to be able to facilitate a culture like that. It's rare, and we as fans should enjoy it. We feel it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, especially too, right? If you can contrast kind of the stories that were coming out from last year versus what's seemingly going on in the clubhouse this year. Um, Sounds kind of night and day. I'm sure it's not, obviously everyone would say it's not as bad as everyone says it was last year, but regardless of how it was last year, you can just tell that there's
It's
some
different.
kind of magic going on in there, and you always kind of need that magic in the clubhouse. I agree. Like all the best teams I've ever been on might not necessarily been the most talented team or have all the advantages on paper, but there was some magic sauce, definitely
What's weird too is
going
like I
on.
look at that last year's team, and as disappointing as it was, there's been time where people could have easily come out and said, "Hey, here's what really happened." And they
Hmm.
asked him. They asked Nick Martinez, who's on the Reds, what happened last year. They've asked Josh Hader, "Hey, what happened last year?" After he's been booed at Petco, where it's so easy to say, "Oh yeah, this team just wasn't really clear." No, they all really felt it was an enigma,
Yeah,
and I
just
believe
don't
that. I
know.
think it was really weird circumstances that created a non-winning environment, but I don't think it was at fault of any one player, and I think it was just something that they all went through. They'll all look back on and go, "How'd that happen?" But we turned it around, and now we get to have this year and the following years as building blocks on a winning culture. Go
Mhm.
Pats!
Go Pods. Awesome. Cool. So I guess looking ahead then, playing these three games, what, in your opinion, is going to be the keys for the Padres to win this series against the Braves? What are you locking in on?
It's weird. I think normally you'd say come out hot, come out fast, and yeah, we'd love that, but that's not really been this team. And not to say that they don't need to come out. You can definitely get stunned and punched in the face, but there is something about the fact that I really feel this team will never be out of it. The late inning games, we've shown that we can do that. I think one of the big things that I'm looking out for here in game one, game two, is Merrill's adjustment to playoff atmosphere. He's
Hmm.
been
Hmm.
steady Eddie. I mean,
Yep.
the keel of the ship, really, in his attitude and energy. Let's see how he does. I mean, it's one thing to do it through 162. It's another when it's playoff baseball. So I'm looking out for what he's going to do, how he reacts. I want to see Manny and how he does because as he goes, we go, as we always say. And then
Right.
starting pitching. This is King's first game. I'm
Yep.
looking at King. I'm looking at Merrill. Those are my two focal points. But otherwise, the kids just need to play the way they have all year. I mean, that's
Yep.
what they've talked about. They've
Yeah.
been preparing for this all year, and you've seen it from Schilt. Even when things are going great, he's keeping the ship steady. Doesn't matter
Yep.
who we play. You've heard Manny Machado refer to the White Sox as a good team. Why is he saying that? It's because you need to treat your opponents with respect and treat them all the same, and they have done that. It's been really impressive. The Dodger wins, they acknowledge that it's a good team, but they treat it the same. So I think they've put themselves in a good position, but I'm looking for them to continue doing that, and it's going to be put to the test here as the
Yep.
lights come on.
Absolutely. I think you nailed it. Hit it right on the head there. A couple of things that I was thinking about were I feel like a lot of times, even just thinking back to like 2022, right? It was like, man, it just barely scraped in, and like, ooh, how's the starting pitching gonna hold up? Like so many questions, like there were so
Mm-hmm.
many obstacles that they had to continue to like adjust to, and oh, they need to make this adjustment still, and blah blah blah. Like all that thing, like they were battling through all that
Yep.
in that push, and they were still able to be successful. Whereas, right, like you said, this team, they just got to keep doing what they're doing because they're They're playing really good ball, like you said. Like the manager Schultz, he's keeping them steady. They've been playing great baseball, like you said, top to bottom, the lineup, top to bottom with the pitching. They've been bunting, they've been executing, they've been stealing bases, they've been picking each other up. They've been doing all the right things, all the things that you need to do to be a championship club. And so now it's like, well, hey, guess what? You guys, it's the same thing. We've been doing it, especially in the second half. So just keep doing it. And, like you said, I think it'll be a good test. A lot of the first timers, King Start, Merrill, etc. But it's got to feel like, one of those things where it's like the confidence I'm sure is high because it's like, look what we can do when we click. Not like, oh shit, can you believe we got here? It's like, hell
Yeah.
yeah, we're here. Let's keep this going. Like, and I feel this is like a really powerful spot to be in. So it's
I am so glad you said
uh,
that because I have felt that way for years. The playoff years here, at times it felt like we didn't really deserve it, right? It was either a
right.
team,
Last team in.
walked
Yeah.
us, a bunch to get us in, or made an error. We weren't winning as many games as much as we just weren't losing. This team, the beauty of it is that if any one part of the game goes down, the rest of them just seem to find a way, right? Starting pitching doesn't go well. The bullpen's going to pick you up, and the offense is going to do its job. Offense isn't going well. Guess what? That starting pitcher is going to keep us close, and the pen's going to hold it down until we come back. It's just a very unique team that I've never seen as a Padre fan, where they're just complete. It doesn't. There's so many different ways that they can win. Whereas before it was like, all right, if Manny, Tatis, and Bogarts aren't hitting, this game's over. Or if we don't have our top two pitchers going, I'm not that confident. We're susceptible to just the bang. And then I've never seen a bullpen this complete. So I've I love this team.
Yeah.
Frankly put, I love this team, and it's so fun to
Mhm.
watch them, and I cannot wait to
I
see
know
what they do.
it's gonna be electric. I'm really excited to see what Petco Park's gonna be like. I mean, I'm not going, but even from TV though, it's like
You
I'm
feel it.
excited to see. Yeah, you can feel it. You can just the ambient noise that you hear even on the broadcast is just elevated. The reaction to every pitch, every foul ball, everything is
Hmm.
just elevated. And that's something that you can feel through even the TV. So, I mean, hopefully we are able to make it out to one of these games. But even if not, it'll still be electric, I'm sure.
Hey, for Seidler, you also have that storyline here. I mean, the
Yep,
boys feel that too. They've
absolutely.
brought it up many times.
I mean,
Man,
that's why they do all this
yeah.
stuff, they do that stuff. All right.
Hey, if you're just hopping on the bandwagon, and that's okay, we'll take everybody in San Diego. That's how we work here.
Hmm.
Man, enjoy this team. It is the most fun team I've seen. Watch it. Watch every game. Support them. Like all the social media posts. Get them on the stage, and let's see what we can do.
Absolutely. All right. We did this last year, and this is kind of what I wanted to end this episode with too. We're heading into the postseason picture. I've got the bracket up on my screen. I know you're working with like one small screen right now, but I can just read it to you
Read it to
because
me.
last year you did really good, if I remember correctly. You were like
Oddly good.
very close to
I missed
getting
like
like
one
almost
or
the
two.
entire playoff picture. Meanwhile, I think I completely blew it. I had like 1/4 of the bracket correct, if
All right,
that.
let's see if I can work my magic again.
All right, let's do this. Let's start on the American League side. All right, we're starting with the surprise Detroit Tigers taking on Houston Astros. Who you got there? Wild card round one.
Yeah, I wish Detroit would be the Cinderella story, but with Houston's experience in the playoffs, it's just hard to go against that. I'm not going to go against Houston. I got Houston.
Houston. All right. All right. Other wild card game is going to be the Kansas City Royals versus the Baltimore Orioles.
Love seeing the Royals in this race. Lugo Waka, congratulations. We miss you. We
Yep.
replaced it pretty good, but boy, oh boy, did they make us think about it. They had 2 great years over there.
Hmm.
Orioles are a young team. Boy, would I love to see it. Give me the upset with the Royals because I think Bobby Witt
Ooh.
Jr. has a chance to put this game on his back. And that
Hmm.
pitching over there for the Royals, starting
Yeah,
pitch is pretty darn good.
pitching is hard to bet against for sure. Okay, cool. So then you got Houston and Kansas City advancing, which would make the next rounds of your bracket would be Cleveland Guardians versus Houston. Who you got?
Cleveland. I
Cleveland.
got Cleveland.
Ooh, very good.
Quan.
Cleveland. Okay.
I
And
think
then
they're
on the
ready. They're finally
yeah.
ready.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's their time.
And On the other end, we've got the Royals taking on the Yankees,
Yankees. Hate
one seed.
hate to say it, the Yankees are too strong. That offense can neutralize it good.
Yeah, it just
It's
Soto
funny.
and
We normally
Judge
talk
back to
about
back,
pitching
dude.
neutralizing a
Crazy.
good offense, but the way that the Yankees are structured,
Yeah.
that home run ball is going to play against a
So,
Kansas
yeah,
City
home
pitching
field
staff.
advantage too, being that one seed, like they know how to play to their park and they're going to get some bombs for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so that puts let's see, Cleveland versus the Yankees for the American League Championship Series. Who is going to the World Series?
Give me Cleveland. I think they're ready.
Ooh, Cleveland.
I
Cleveland
think they play a more complete
Guardians.
brand of baseball. I think
Mhm.
that they can beat the Yankees in a longer format.
Longer series. Right on. Okay. Awesome. All right. Switching over to the National League, we've got the New York Mets taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Who you got?
God, I really want the Brewers to win. They're another team that's been in it a couple times, and I'm going with the Brewers because the Mets also find a way to implode. They're coming off a high of getting in, but go
Yeah,
Brewers, go Brew Crew,
Brew Crew.
great
We've
year,
got Braves versus Padres. Who you
Padres.
got?
Got to Padres.
Come on.
If my bracket's broken on my hopes and dreams, then let it be.
All right. That then takes us to Brewers versus Phillies.
Gosh dang,
Final series.
the Phillies having home field advantage is so great.
Mhm.
I just don't feel great about them this year. Ranger Suarez and
Okay,
being
yeah, kind
top
of
end
been
is it.
downtrending quite a
Nolan's
bit.
also getting older.
Yeah.
Wheeler somehow finds a way to do it.
Yeah, dude's
But
just
give me the
different.
Brew Crew. You're coming
Brew
off
Crew.
momentum.
hmm Okay. Brewers. And then Padres Dodgers.
Padres, baby.
Oh, let's go.
They've won the
Let's
series
go.
throughout the year. They don't want their stop to end
Yeah,
there.
a little
That'd be
repeat,
heartbreaking.
repeat action. So that means you've got Brewers Padres in the National League Championship Series.
That would be fun.
Who you got?
I think those teams actually align for some really fun baseball.
I think so too.
Chirrio, I feel the starting rotations are
That's true.
similar in their ceilings and their
hmm
inconsistencies at times with some of their pieces.
Yep.
I think they play a good brand of baseball. I mean, you got former Padre coach
hmm
over there. It would be a very unique series, but it's got to go Pods.
Come on. What kind of podcast would we be? Do I even need to ask this last one? So you got World Series, Cleveland Guardians, San Diego Padres. Who is your champion, sir?
I think Club Padres,
Cleveland's got it.
dude.
Oh,
If Let's
shocker.
just say if my bracket
Shocker.
is right, this would be one
Yeah.
hell of a postseason.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And with that, you have the Padres taking their first ever World Series over the Cleveland Guardians. Very good, my friend. I know now after last year not to bet against you, even though I may not agree with some of the picks, but
Here's what I think, though, on a real note, with the
yeah.
Padres' need for success, I think if they can get past this first round handily, if you go 2-0
hmm
and then you take it to the Dodgers, that's always going to be a dogfight. There's no easy
Yeah.
road through them.
Yeah.
But you need the 2-0. I feel that's important for them. Keep the
Yeah.
confidence high as you go into Dodger
Keep the
Stadium.
pitchers fresh, keep the
Pitchers
confidence
fresh.
high. Yeah.
I think that's important. And then I think once they get past the Dodgers, but speaking it into fruition, once they get past the Dodgers, they're going to learn that that's not their World Series. They
Yeah.
did that last time. They played the Phillies, and the intensity was not any. It just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
And you can kind of expect that. But now you've done that, and now they've learned. So if they can get past the Dodgers, I think it's their year. I
Awesome.
really, really do.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm gonna read you through mine now real quick.
I want
Get
to
your
hear it.
take.
I'm ready.
All right, starting on the American League side. I've got Detroit and Houston. I've got Detroit because they are just the hot team. They're the
Cinderella
Cinderella
King.
story. I don't know. I feel like they get a little bit of an advantage because of the shorter series. I think Scooble on the mound is
Yeah.
almost that's the best shot anyone's going to have of winning kind of in the
Yeah,
whole thing. That dude's dominant, right? So I'm like, not that it's a guaranteed win, but that's as guaranteed as they come in my
triple
mind.
crown.
Right, exactly. So that's like if you're already up 1-0 in the series, that's huge. And then they've just been so hot. So I just
Yep.
feel like if it's going to happen right now, it's going to happen because they're hot and they got Scooble doing his
Yeah, the
thing.
way they wear their pants so hot.
Exactly. So I got Tigers on that side. Then Orioles and Royals. This one I struggled with a lot. I wanted to pick the Royals, but I'm going Orioles.
So
Kind of
far, we're
similar,
exact opposites.
kind of similar story though. Like I prefer the Royals pitching. However, kind of same thing. Corbin Burns is really freaking good. And the Orioles, I actually picked them last year to go, I think, to the championship series, and they kind of burned out with all their young guys in like the first round. But now, in my mind, I'm like, hey, it's almost the same team. Plus, they've all had a year of experience under their belt. They've all been to the post, or a lot of them have been on the postseason team last year. I think they're in a better spot to do that this year. I think they're just a little bit more complete team than the Royals, personally.
Yeah,
So I got the Orioles on that
and they
side.
have Burns now. You don't get worse by adding him to your
Right.
rotation.
Right, exactly. So, and again, too, I think just the shorter series kind of favors a team like that as well. Then going on, I guess next would be Tigers versus Guardians. That's where the magic ends. Guardians are going to win that one. I think I agree. They've got to some recipe. They just know pitch. I don't know. They just know how to win in
Yeah,
like weird ways. Like I don't feel like they have like too many standout guys other than like Jose Ramirez just always doing his thing.
Naylor.
Um, yeah, they just got clutch factor. They've got pitchers just to who always get it done. That one's going to be Guardians in my book. And then Orioles and Yankees. Sorry, Orioles.
Ooh,
It's not going to happen. Yankees are too good, too complete. Home field advantage, the whole thing. I got Yankees taking that one. And then we've got Guardians and Yankees. It's going to be the Yankees again. I got them going again.
oh,
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really tough series. It might go the entirety. It might take all, what is it, 5 games for, or is it 5 for championship or 7? 7, I think.
uh,
I think
so
I got
real quick
Yankees.
here, you've
Yeah.
got the Yankees 1 year rental of Soto paying off, and them
Yep.
going to the World Series.
Well, they also got, a bunch of their pitchers who they like didn't think were going to be good, just pitching unreal too. They got Gill pitching really good. Nestor Cortez wasn't even like going to start pitching well. Garrett Cole's back. Clark Schmidt's randomly always solid. So I don't know. I think their offense is just kind of too much for a lot of these other teams. It's like they can just power through a lot of them. So I got Yankees there. And then
Okay,
over to the National League side, I'll go real quick through this one, and we're almost out of time here.
roll it.
We've got Brewers and Mets. I got Brewers as well. I
Let's go.
think, yeah, everyone's kind of sleeping on the Brewers. I think they're, yeah, a much more solid ball club than a lot of people give them credit for. I got Brew Crew there. Padres, Braves, come on, let's just go. We already know. Padres just talked about for 30 minutes. Phillies versus Brewers. I got Phillies. I think kind of like you said, I love their home field advantage. Wheeler's going to do his thing. Other pitchers are going to do fine. Um, and I think too, yeah, just like they're just a little bit deeper. I think kind of similar, like I was saying with the
Stronger
Yankees, they're just
team.
kind of overpower a little bit. Padres, Dodgers, come on,
Ah,
Pods,
give me them
of
pop.
course. Which means that we're gonna have a rematch of Phillies Padres, and
That'd
it's a
be
Padre
crazy.
podcast, so they're gonna get their revenge. It's gonna be a repeat of the 1998 World Series when we were just wee young little lads. Padres, Yankees, back at it, and we're taking home the crown, baby. Let's
We're
go.
Spanky the
But that's what I got. That is who I got. So nice to see.
we
We'll
got.
see how it all plays out. I like how came to similar-ish conclusions.
Yep.
But the
Not
bracket's
really.
kind of different.
Our only similar conclusion
The
was the
Padres are gonna
Brewers
win.
and the Padres winning the World Series. That was it, Vince.
Hey, that's similar. The end result was similar.
Yes.
In fact, some might say it's exactly the same.
Some would.
Oh man. But anyways, I think that has been enough. We are stoked. Game tomorrow, or I guess if this episode gets released, game later tonight, 5:30 Pacific time. Padres, Braves. We cannot wait. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right. We'll catch you all next time. Hopefully after a nice series win. Always a pleasure, my friend. We'll
Like and
see you
subscribe.
soon. Awesome. Later.